Daniyl Chapter 5. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his chiefs, and drank wine with the 1,000. Belshazzar, under the influence of the wine, gave command to have the gold and silver articles brought in, which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the House of Yahweh in Jerusalem, so that the king, his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink from them. Then they brought out the gold articles that were taken from the sanctuary of the House of Yahweh in Jerusalem, and the king, his princes, his wives, and his concubines drank from them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold, of silver, of bronze, of iron, and of wood and stone. In the same hour, fingers of a man's hand appeared and wrote next to the lamp on the plastered wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the exuberance on his face changed, and the thoughts in his mind terrified him. The joints of his loins gave way, and his knees knocked against each other. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers.
Now!
Then the king spoke and said to the wise men of Babylon,
Whoever can read this writing and reveal its interpretation to me will be clothed with scarlet, have a chain of gold around his neck, and will be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Although all the king's wise men came in, they could not read the writing, nor reveal its interpretation to the king. Then King Belshazzar grew greatly distressed, and his face turned pale, and his officials were alarmed. Now the queen mother, because she had heard the discussion of the king and his officials, came into the banquet hall. The queen spoke and said,
O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts terrify you, nor look so pale. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And in the reign of your father, there was found in him light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods. King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, appointed him chief of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. For because an excellent spirit, knowledge, and understanding was found in this Daniyl, whom the king named Belteshazzar, for the interpreting of dreams, solving of riddles and dark sayings, and the solving of difficulties. Now may Daniyl be summoned, and he will reveal the interpretation.
So Daniyl was brought in before the king. The king spoke and said to Daniyl,
Are you the same Daniyl, a captive of the children of Yada, whom the king, my father, brought out of Yada? I have heard of you, that the spirit of the holy gods is in you, and that light, understanding, and unsurpassed wisdom is found in you. Now, the wise men and the astrologers have been brought in before me, so that they could read this writing and reveal its interpretation to me. But they could not reveal the interpretation in this matter. But I have heard of you, that you can reveal interpretations and dissolve difficulties. Now, if you can read the writing and reveal its interpretation to me, you will be clothed with scarlet, have a chain of gold around your neck, and will be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Then Daniyl answered and spoke before the king.
May you keep your gifts for yourself, or give your rewards to another. However, I will read the writing to the king and reveal to him the interpretation. O king, Yahweh our father gave your father Nebuchadnezzar a kingdom, majesty, glory, and honor. And because of the majesty that he gave him, all peoples, nations, and languages trembled and stood in dread before him. Whomever he pleased to execute, he executed. Whomever he pleased to spare, him he spared. Whomever he pleased to exalt, him he exalted. And whomever he pleased to abase, him he put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men. His mind was made like that of a beast, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was bathed with the dew from heaven, until he knew that Yahweh our Father rules in the kingdom of men, and that he appoints over it whomsoever he wills. But you, his son, O Baal-shazar, have not humbled your heart, though you knew all this. Instead, you have exalted yourself against Yahweh in heaven, and they have brought in the articles from his house before you. And you, your officials, your wives, and your concubines have drunk wine from them. And you have praised the gods of silver, of gold, of bronze, of iron, wood, and stone, which see nothing, hear nothing, and know nothing. But Yahweh, in whose hand is your very breath, and to whom belongs all your ways, you have not glorified. So the part of the hand was sent from him, and from him this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. This is the interpretation of the matter. Mene, Yahweh has numbered your kingdom and ended it. Tekel, you have been weighed on the scales and are found lacking. Perez, your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
Then Belshazzar gave command, and they clothed Daniyl with scarlet, put a chain of gold around his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was killed, and Darius the Mede took over the kingdom, being about 62 years of age.